All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Build Onchain. Today, we're talking to Austin Griffith from BuidlGuidl. I'm actually super excited for this one. It touches on a lot of stuff I've been thinking about lately. Austin, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Austin, okay. First, I just want to start with, if someone's not familiar with BuidlGuidl, what is BuidlGuidl? What do you all do?
It's kind of like a hard thing to answer because it's a lot of different weird things. Like it's a Wyoming DAO, for instance. It's an on-chain application used to fund developers, for instance. I think the best way to think of BuidlGuidl is like a loose organization of builders that I'm funding to build cool things. And I'm not even funding them anymore. The ETH is giving us grants. So it's sort of a grant-funded operation to build curriculum and tooling. And we're actually moving kind of toward we've been over optimizing on tooling and education and not pushing products to production and thinking about how to train other builders to push products to production. So we're kind of education and tooling with like a new flair for getting product shipped and getting users on chain.
That is so sick. Can you tell me about some of the products that you all are shipping right now? And then we're going to do a demo today. So maybe tell us a little bit about what we'll be building today.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is Scaffold ETH is the tooling that we build. And that's not true. The most prevalent thing is Scaffold ETH. Everything that we do, we use Scaffold ETH for. So whenever you see a build come out of BuidlGuidl, it probably was a Scaffold ETH build. So it's our tooling and our stack of choice, and it allows us to rapidly prototype. When we want to build something, we go to Scaffold ETH and ship it quickly, ship a prototype and move on it. I think our main product, though, is Speedrun Ethereum, the curriculum. If you go to speedrunethereum.com, you can kind of get the aha moments. We've spent the last 5 to 7 years teaching folks how to build on chain, and we've really honed the process down to, you've got to have this moment where you realize this thing, and this is the best way to have them have that moment. And so the curriculum is, really fine-tuned for learning quickly and kind of, with the word speed run, we want you to feel like you're going to get like all the secrets all at once, kind of. And that's kind of what Speedrun Ethereum is.
That's super cool. I actually remember when I first actually started developing crypto, I had to go do crypto zombies, you know, or I think it was ETH capture the flag, or there's those Open Zeppelin ones. I can't remember what they're called, but I do agree. There are moments in Solidity where you're like, oh, now I totally understand how this storage slot works, or now I totally understand how this specific, how delegate call works,
no one understands how delegate call
that's true. Don't use delegate call unless you know what you're doing. But that's super cool. Okay, so today we're gonna vibe code something with Scaffold ETH. But before we get into that, do you mind explaining why would a developer use Scaffold ETH? Why wouldn't they just load up, I don't know, just your average React framework? Why would you use Scaffold ETH? What tools does it come with that make it easy to build?
So I'm going to kind of say the opposite, and I'm going to say the thing that most developers get caught, the trap that they get caught in, and that is, I'm about to build something that's going to be moving money around. I need to understand every single detail of this thing, and so I'm going to start from scratch. And actually, that's a really good thing because it teaches you a whole bunch of things. But there's things like once you get your app deployed to production and you're on Arbitrum and someone visits and they're on base, you need to nudge their wallet over from Arbitrum to base. Totally. And Scaffold ETH does that out of the box, right? Just there's so many, all of these really little UX things that you're gonna need, we've built in. But then on top of that, there's this tight coupling between the back end and the front end, I would say, the smart contract and the front end. Sort of you add something to your smart contract and then you can tinker with it in your front end. So sometimes when you're just starting to get things figured out, you're not 100% sure exactly what the app's going to look like, but you need to tinker a little bit. Scaffold ETH is really, really good at that.
Okay, that sounds awesome. Well, let's do a demo. And,
okay.
For anyone that doesn't know what vibe coding is amazing. Everyone should be vibe coding, but Austin, let's vibe code.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Let's go. Okay, so here's BuidlGuidl. You can go to BuidlGuidl.com. All of our resources are here. I'll get to Scaffold ETH in just a second. I think it's right here. You click this to get Scaffold ETH, but it's on the next tab. I'll get there. I just wanted to show this off. This is what Build Guild looks like. Go find us, Build Guild. And then most importantly, if you're a developer, before you dive into Scaffold ETH and go build an app that makes millions of dollars, make sure you go to speedrunethereum.com. Okay, here we go. Scaffold ETH. So you can get started at scaffoldeth.io. Let me do this little thing where there we go. And it's just an npx command. It's npx create ETH. And you just copy paste this command into your terminal. And it's going to ask you a couple questions. I did Qtest. I was going to test this quick test real quick, but I think maybe we'll just use Qtest. I think Qtest will be our build. But I just did npx create ETH Qtest. Let me make that a little bigger. Sorry. How's that? There we go.
That's perfect.
And then it installed a bunch of things, right? Scaffold ETH is going to install, it's going to install both the backend stuff. Let's go look at the code. It's going to install both the backend stuff. So either hard hat or Foundry, you pick. I just hit enter quickly and picked hard hat, but it's exactly the same with Foundry. Everything is going to be yarn commands. So whether you use Foundry or hard hat, the overall orchestration is just the same set of commands. So let's get it started real quick so I can show you kind of the dev loop, and then we'll do some vibe coding. So I'm going to fire up a local blockchain, and I'm going to start my dev server. And then the loop that I get in here is just basically like shipping an example app to my local blockchain. So if I do a yarn deploy now, let me make that bigger. It's going to deploy this kind of placeholder greeter contract. You know how it goes when you get started. You kind of have this greeting contract. Let me get in and look at it here. So we're going to start out with a contract that kind of has a little of everything to show off how it works. There's a greeter function, and there's things like it's a payable, and there's a modifier to show you how that stuff works, and the constructor. Just a lot of like, let's have all the data types here with some quick examples. So someone doesn't even need to do crypto zombies. If they're a programmer, they can get in here and almost understand the syntax of Solidity by just looking at this one contract.
Totally. And I mean, in that way, like if they just want to figure out like, how do I use Scaffold ETH to see an event, or how do I use Scaffold ETH to call the specific part of the contract, they can just do that right away.
Yep. So let me get to this, like the front end of Scaffold ETH, because I think that will make it all make sense. So if I go to localhost 3000, we should have a web server up there, right? So we kind of have our blockchain and our web server up together, and we're kind of building with these two things in symphony or in parallel. A lot of times, most crypto apps are built by a cracked engineer that lays out the Solidity and never even thinks of the front end really.
Totally.
And then there's like three, $100,000 audits. And then finally someone goes and builds a front end. And while they're building their front end, they're like, oh shit, like this is going to be terrible UX because we have to do this. And then we have to wait for the transaction to come back and then do that. And then we have to come do that. And the person is never going to do that. And they're, $300,000 into building their product and just realizing that. So Scaffold ETH is trying to expose that UX to you. So what if I don't know. I kind of like the idea, just speaking of bad UX, doing like a commit reveal or something. I don't know if this thing can figure it out though. I've never live vibe coded a commit reveal app before. So I don't know if that's a good idea, but maybe that's the idea here. Okay, but first,
we can try.
Yeah, let me show you this. So here is the greeter. So in the greeter contract, there's a set greeting, right? And if I go here and set greeting to hello world, let me zoom in a little bit more. If I set my greeting to hello world there and I hit go, it's going to say something like, you don't have enough gas, right? So there's two concepts we need to pick up real quick, and that is burner wallets. So we have like basically a burner wallet, private key and local storage. And then we have a faucet here. So we can hit this button and it's basically going to fund a burner wallet, which is really, really nice because then you don't have to worry about MetaMask or anything else. I just have a burner wallet that now has money, and watch what happens when I click. No MetaMask pop up, no dealing with chain ID, nothing else. I actually just made that transaction and did that hello world.
That is very convenient. Like the amount of times I've been on some like random faucet and I have to like log in and like verify my identity. And, and I don't know, I think at the time it was Sepolia and gas fees were through the roof. And I'm like, this is not enough for even one transaction. Totally pain in the butt. That's very cool.
So then let's get to as you would be writing your Solidity, right? I want to get you to the point of one of the points of Scaffold ETH is like get you to tinkering with Solidity first. So if I do a, let's do an address public, I'm going to call this like delegate or something like that. And I'll set it to this guy's address. So I'm just like coding up a quick little piece of this contract. Okay. And then let's go deploy it, right? So this is the dev loop. You add a little thing to your smart contract, you YOLO it to your local chain, and then Scaffold ETH hot reloads showing this new delegate, right?
Oh,
Okay,
that's so useful. Right. It's almost like when sometimes when I'll do testing, like I verify my contracts on Etherscan, and then I have to like deploy to whatever Spolia, go to Etherscan, and then I just use the like ABI interface to interact with it because I like don't want to write the script because I'm lazy. But this is great. This is like basically the Etherscan visual ABI immediately, so you can just call any function in the front end.
And by the way, you can do this on any smart contract that's in production by just typing in ABI.Ninja. ABI Ninja lets you pick any contract on a whole bunch of different chains and then pick out, say, like balance of. And let's look at the balance of, I think, Vitalik.eth. Sorry, we're doing a lot of side quests here, but some fun stuff. There is Vitalik's, whoa, he has way too much DAI in his account. But yeah, you can read these contracts. You can have this same interface with contracts that are live by using ABI Ninja, another product that was built with Scaffold ETH and came out of BuidlGuidl.
That's sick. I'll have to put that in the tool chest instead of using your wallet.
Should we try to vibe code? Okay, so let's say that you've got your back end perfect now. You've dinked around with it. I actually added a set delegate function while you're talking there, and let's maybe try to make Vitalik the delegate real quick. And make sure that updates. There we go. It did. Okay.
Oh, that's so cool when it loads in with like whatever the profile picture is on the NS. That's sick.
So
that would be so annoying to do like not out of the box.
You're going to have that out of the box in your front end too. This is just the debug, but if you move over here, that's called an address component. Just the address component, and you give it an address, and it shows up like this in Scaffold ETH. And there's an address input component. So if you're trying to collect it, it also does the same thing. All of that comes out of the box with Scaffold ETH. Okay, so how to build a front end, right? How do you talk to your contracts? How do you read from your contracts? How do you write to your contracts? The docs are here for Scaffold ETH. If you go to interacting with your contracts, it's just read and write, right? There's a read hook and there's a write hook. That hook gives you this async writer and this button writes, but we're not going to go through the docs. We're not even going to copy and paste from the docs. We are going to just like vibe code this thing, right? So let's get rid of our delegate. Let's see. We have to think about what we want to build too. I should have. Let's
do the commit reveal.
Let's try it.
We could totally do it. Just make sure that we just need a salt. So throw in the salt, throw in whatever the message is, have some sort of mapping per address or like something like that. I guess you could do a mapping per like the hashed, the full hash of the commit.
Oh, wait, we need a read function for the hash too.
Yeah, totally.
Right. So then we have an on-chain. We need, so let's see, start with a, like an input and a salt or something like that, right? So we'll feed an input and a salt and we'll get a hash back, right?
Exactly. The read that just makes it easy for the front end to construct it.
Then, comma, later, make sure it is a later block, right? You can't let someone commit reveal on the same one or it fucks up everything, right? They can reveal the string and the salt that makes, or maybe I'm just going to do input and see what it does, right? Does it make a string? I don't even know. Some of the most fun things about vibe coding is like seeing the little differences that it does, and like I'll one shot an app and see the little things and then delete everything and then one shot an app again and see the little things, like little words in the prompt can change. Yeah,
it's very true. I also love another thing. I think some people do this with vibe coding. I have like 3 different dictation apps on my computer. So I'll just like YOLO the longest, most incoherent ramble of all time.
Yes.
And sometimes it just one shots. So I don't know how it parses it, but.
Okay, then, so in the reveal, they reveal and then you, hash their reveal with the previous block hash. And if it is, I don't even know, 2 leading zeros, a leading zero, you pay them all the money in the contract. Okay,
why not?
Something like that. Something like that. Okay, let's see. Someone can commit a hash and make the commit payable and charge them. We'll charge them for every commit, right? Charge them 0.001 for each commit. Okay, this is dumb. I don't know if this is going to work. Let's see. We don't want them to just write
you started this with, I don't know if I can do a commit reveal scheme live, and now it's a lottery. So commit reveal lottery. Let's go. That's it, right? One little like line in here, and it's something different, right? Okay, go ahead and write the front end too, please, bro. Love you. Okay, send it. So then, like when the computers take over, they aren't going to kill us. So I'm using agent mode. I'm using Claude 3.7. I've got it like in YOLO mode too. So once I hit go here, it's allowed to do whatever it wants and run whatever commands it wants. And I'm okay with that. But here we go. Okay, so our app looks like this to begin. And hopefully it's going to work through the smart contract first. Yep, it is. I think it will get the commit reveal right. Like I feel like there's enough.
You have faith here.
I have faith in it, right? It's just the read function to construct it. It's the posting the hash and the caching of it in the mapping. And then it's like the reveal with the like phrase and the salt. So hopefully.
Okay, so we've got our fee. We're tracking some owner. I don't think we really need an owner, but let's see what that owner is for. Yeah, so it's keeping the owner from the last, even though we probably don't need an owner here. There's our calculate function that takes, an input and a salt. Both are strings. Okay, then you commit here. And it should store the block number and your commit hash, and then whether or not it's revealed. Yep, and then you come back in and reveal it. Dude, this looks good.
That's great,
right?
I guess the only insecurity is, in theory, you could just like pre-compute what the block. As soon as you see the block hash, you could pre-compute it and try to include it. So it might be more secure if it, after you reveal it, you like retake it and hash it. Well, I guess you could pre-compute that too.
So the thing is, you can choose not to reveal if it's going to compute to a losing hash. And that's the point is I see. Charge them at the commit phase, and then they only reveal if it's going to give them money.
I see.
Right. So we're cutting out the bad UX, and we're saying you only have to do the commit. And then you just do a whole bunch of commits. But if you ever get a lucky commit that then will reveal, then you can pay. So it's like only one transaction until you win. And then the winner has to make 2 transactions, sort of.
Cool.
Oh boy. What's it doing? It's compiling. There are times when this is like goes off the rail. You have to just like know when to stop it. Like now is the time to stop it. Stop. Let's see. How do I even stop it?
I think it just deployed something.
Got the stop button. Yeah, it like deployed the contract. It like is firing up the chain. It should not do any of that stuff. So let's see. Let's close. Let's back up here. We just really broke a bunch of things. Okay, let's see. Does the contract deploy? It looked like it was already deploying. Let's try deploying it. Okay.
There you go. Deployed.
Yep. And then we go look at. Well. Let's see, is the front end? Nope, I think the front end's dead because it tried to run it. Let's reboot the front end. And look what our app looks like. Let's see. I think usually what I'll do is I'll go to the debug tab and I'll try the commit reveal there. Looks like we're getting, every once in a while you'll get some interesting errors. I don't even know what this is.
It added to the front end. Try the commit reveal lottery with the commit reveal tab right in the front there.
What's that? Oh, it's trying to do a tab?
No, in the very front of the very front of the application, it like added a little thing on the front page that said try out the commit reveal lottery.
I totally missed that. So here,
bottom right hand corner, try the commit reveal lottery.
Look at this. Oh man, that is weird. Okay, so here's our front end. It buried the front end in here. That's super weird. Okay, so we put in some lucky input, and this could be whatever, right? And then it is hashed, and then we generate a nice random salt.
Nice.
And then we commit. And it works. And then we have to wait for another block, which you can do by just triggering the faucet. And then we reveal. And we would want to calculate that and only reveal if we were going to win. But let's see what happened. The money is still in the contract, if that helps. Okay. So maybe we would commit. Let's try committing again. I mean, we'd have to do this 16 times to win, right? But
you almost want to vibe code it to have like a pop up if you don't win the transaction. So there's like an event in the contract that says you've won, and so we just want to make sure, like, does that event happen or not? If it doesn't happen, you didn't win.
Yep. Let's see. Is there a win? Yep. There's a winner paid event right there. Yep. So just follow that and just listen for it when they hit the roll button, and forget about calculating anything else. Yep. Cool. So that's a commit reveal app. Okay. So let's say we wanted to put this live on a network. Basically, you would go through 2 steps. You need to deploy your contract live to somewhere, right? So if we wanted to deploy to, do you have a specific network you like?
For all intents and purposes, all networks are totally equal. Okay. And I'm just kidding. Just deploy wherever. Don't deploy to mainnet. It's gonna be too expensive.
Okay. Base or Arbitrum?
Let's do base.
Okay. Here we go. I like to have someone else pick, so it shows that like it doesn't work. So this isn't going to work. It's going to say you need to generate. So for each project, it has you generate a private deployer account and fund that deployer account. So we need to do that real quick. Oh man. Let's see if I can do this correctly. I think I just typed it. There we go. Okay, now we have a generator address. What do we say? Base. So let's load this thing up with some base real quick. There we go. There we go. Probably USD, right? Like a quarter probably is not going to cost very much.
You don't need more than a quarter.
All right, and then we yarn deploy -- network base as soon as that transaction goes through, probably about now. Okay, please work. So we're going to put our contract live onto base, and then we'll have to put our app live on Vercel, and then we'll have a working vibe-coded app. Okay, working vibe-coded app. I don't know about that commit reveal. We should probably want to look real close at that smart contract before we put money into it.
I think so.
But it is live on base, okay? And then I'll do a scaffold. So you need to point scaffold with this one config right here. I'm going to point it at base instead of hardhat. And when I hit save, the whole app switches to base, right? Remember when I was talking about bumping the user if they come in with the wrong thing? Now I'm not going to use burner wallets anymore, right? I'll use my normal account, and I'll come up with something, and I'll come up with some salt, and I'll do it. Let's see if I win any money. Okay.
To send the ETH, you have to send the ETH. I don't know if you have enough ETH. It might get rejected.
Yep, I'm sending it. Yeah, it's going to send in $3, right?
Look at that. Look at that ETH burn.
Yeah.
Watch out, Solana maxis.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then the other thing we need to do. So this is live on base. It just like worked. The contract now has money in it. If anybody wants to go gamble on this contract, hopefully that was legal. I don't even know what I'm doing. Okay, and then the other thing you need to do is a yarn Vercel. Okay, so we've got the contract out there and it's ready to go, but you need to do a yarn Vercel YOLO prod. This is just gonna like skip a lot of things.
What is a Vercel YOLO? Can you?
Yeah. That means like don't type check, don't do any linting, just send this thing out there immediately.
I love it.
Yeah, but don't do that.
I've done a fair amount of
Vercel.
YOLO deploys in my life.
But there it is. So here in about 2 minutes, someone will be able to go to this URL and they will have this live app on base. They will be able to connect their wallet. They'll be able to go into this dinky UI over here for some reason and do like a commit reveal where they gamble on chain, and it's like a 1 in 15 chance that they'll win all the money in the contract for paying 0.001 to play.
That is so sick. That was so easy. This makes me want to go vibe code some Scaffold ETH apps, actually. I've like so many random ideas that require payment rails, and I'm just like, I should just go for it. That's very cool. What are some of the unique use cases like for teams that are using Scaffold ETH? And, you know, like, I guess a good way to conceptualize it is like, if I use Foundry to write like, you know, smart contracts, this is basically an integrated framework that I can use Foundry and a front-end framework to just do it all cohesively. That's super cool. Like, yeah, what kind of projects and use cases are you seeing from it?
I would say that like you can do Foundry perfectly. Like you can do everything you were doing with Foundry, but then have this front end that's auto adapting as you're making all your changes. So yes, like Foundry or hardhat, it'll work out of the box. You may have to like copy stuff in, like it doesn't like rebuild around an existing project. So that's a little bit of a headache, but it's just moving the contracts in or tests in. Okay, so what kinds of cool things are built with Scaffold ETH? I would say that like lots and lots and lots of prototypes. If you go to BuidlGuidl.com, it's an app, like it's an on-chain app. But if you go to builds, there's like like 2,000 or something like that. And these are builds that builders have submitted. Now, Speedrun Ethereum and Punk Wallet and a bunch of things that we use every day are part of this. ABI Ninja, I mentioned recently. But then there's just like apps on apps on apps on apps. And sadly, these are like too many prototypes. We YOLO'd too far into prototyping, and we didn't do enough like, let's build this all the way to chain, and let's make sure this gets deployed, and let's make sure this gets users, and let's do user research. Like, we just didn't do that. We just did tons of prototyping and tons of education. And so there's tons and tons of apps built with Scaffold ETH. Like, here's a splitter, for instance. Like, there's like 100 of these splitters, but a nice little splitter for splitting ETH. There's like streaming, there's lots of like on-chain NFTs, there's lots of like Uniswap, and lots of little games, but too many prototypes and not enough like real products. If you were to go and look at like real products in production now, some of those folks started with Scaffold ETH, but there aren't a lot of like Scaffold ETH projects in production, and that's just something we need to get better at. Let's see.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was going to say, are there any like features or implementation changes you want to make to BuidlGuidl to make that a little bit easier? Or what are you thinking through there?
Yeah, I think it's not even like implementation or changes. It's just like basically like we focused on education and tooling, and we haven't focused on going pro. And we need to focus on that now. We need to be serious about doing it, and maybe we're not the best people to do that, but we can find the best people, and we can mentor them, and we can give them, you know, the help they need, both financially and educationally.
Okay, awesome. I have 2 more questions. If someone wants to if someone wants to get involved, how can they get involved? What's the best way to contact you and to start working like directly with BuidlGuidl?
Speedrun Ethereum. So speedrunethereum.com is our pipeline. Like, you go to Speedrun Ethereum and you build an NFT, you build a staking app, you build a token vendor, a dice game, you build your own decks. You used to join the Build Guild, but now we're going to have you join like a Speedrun Ethereum batch. And the Build Guild is now going to be kind of like this small set of builders, less tight, less loosely organized, and more like, here are these 14 people whose job it is to do these things. So we've kind of tightened the Build Guild up, but those builders are making curriculum like crazy. There's a stable coin challenge coming out very soon. There's a prediction market challenge coming out soon, a layer 2, a ZK Hello World. So we have a bunch coming out, but this is our pipeline. This is where you find us. This is where you get started. Go to Speedrun Ethereum and just start questing on these. Of course, like, I'm on Twitter. You can find me and reach out to me in the messages. I'm this dude right here, Austin Griffith. Like, my DMs are open. Same handle on Telegram if you want to reach there. So I'm austin@ethereum.org if you want to email me. Easy guy to find. DMs are open. But really what I'm going to say to you is like, oh, you're a developer. How far have you gotten through Speedrun Ethereum? Show me your GitHub. Show me shit you've built. And if you haven't built a bunch of things, I'm probably not going to listen very closely to you. You need to build things, like lots of things.
Totally. Okay, last question, because I thought it was really cool. Tell me about the ETH Tech Tree. Okay, the reason I thought it was so cool is I've just been thinking like, you know, like I architect protocols at Eco, and I think like, man, there's all these concepts that are like, you kind of have to understand, like, how does a ring buffer work, or explain like how you walk through a Merkle tree, or what kind of like commit reveal schemes, another really great example of that. And there's all these like mechanisms in crypto economic design that you can use, bonded mechanism, optimistic mechanisms. And it would be so cool to have just like a World of Warcraft style talent tree where you like traverse your way down the talent tree until you've like learned all these things. Anyways, tell me all about it.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, that's the idea. The idea is, holy shit, there's a breadth of things that you have to learn, and there's all these little concepts, and you'll come upon a new concept and say, damn, I've never knew about this. Where was the information about this? So we tried to like map out as many concepts as we could come up with. And it looked really crazy at first. It was just this giant Miro board. And it was like, here, let me see if I can find the Charlie meme. The Charlie meme really like shows off what this really is. Yes, right here. This is me. This is me building this thing, right? The Charlie crazy. So it's sort of like you learn, Solidity syntax, and then you start tinkering and you learn all these different concepts. And a lot of that you can get from like Solidity by example, but there's like, lots of starter courses from different folks. But then it's like, once you know how to build, you go through the speed run, there's just so many different things here with like different apps that like, zero knowledge, randomness on chain, right? Commit reveals right there. We just built it, right? all sorts of different like sections of, tokenizing versus infrastructure versus user experience. And then we were like, okay, let's make this into an actual tree. And I think we made ethtechtree.com. And we've started porting to this, and then it was fun and we used it for a little bit, but then we realized that like it's Speedrun Ethereum, and we're going to take what is in Speedrun Ethereum and figure out how to make it linear at first, but then tree out. So look for this like craziness in a future version of Speedrun Ethereum.
That's so sick. I literally can't wait for that. I have so many ideas. I'll just like shoot you a long list of all the things I think that like somebody who works in crypto and really wants to understand like protocol or mechanism design should know. So Austin, this is so cool. I've never vibe coded an app on stream, and I'm glad we got to do it. So
I wanted to show one last thing up. This is the BuidlGuidl client. Watch this. It's a one-liner. You just copy paste this one-liner in, and it runs an Ethereum client. Watch this. Whoa, yes. Okay, it took me I had to say yes to a thing.
That is so cool.
Then this is going to spin up Reth and Lighthouse, and now I have a pair, and it give me like this cool, like neat kind of info. Even like tell me my disk space is low, right? How cool is that?
So cool.
Yeah. And so we have like an RPC network built on top of that. So all the BuidlGuidl members are running their own nodes, and then all of our apps, instead of going to Alchemy, like serve off of our own DRPC that we're running.
That is so cool. I'm gonna go check that out after this.
Heck yeah. Client.buildguidl.com. Yep. Thank you for having me, BuidlGuidl.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin. Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers. See you. Thank you. Hearts.
All right, we're good. Nice work. That was so